Merry Sunday to you all. I hope you've had a wonderful week. I am about to share with you some minutes of glorious entertainment when we go all the way to the US of A to meet singer, songwriter, musician and producer Tim Soucy. You're going to meet him in a minute. But before we go and have a chat to good old Tim, let's listen to some of his music. This is Tim Soucy. This is Glorious Days. Enjoy. Let's go and meet this week's extremely special guest, the amazing, the talented Tim Soucy, everybody. Tim Soucy, welcome to the Jaden Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks, and I so appreciate you having me on.
No, I'm sorry I was a bit late today. The joys of
No.
living in Mexico and having plumbing needs.
Mhm.
It's a little bit. It's not easy. It
You
really.
got it done.
But actually, looking at that backdrop where you are now, I feel a little bit less stressed than what I did before. So it's actually.
That's a good thing.
It's actually quite nice. Now, we've just seen Glorious Days. Well, we've just heard the Glorious Days. Now, it says, I've been doing a little bit of investigation, and it says you've been singing, recording, playing, etc., since the age of 12.
Indeed.
So that's only 10 years. How have you got so much done in the last 10 years?
I put my nose to the grindstone, and I've had a lot of inspiration, and one in particular moment that happened to me was when I was doing sound at a Carlos Santana show up in New Hampshire with one of my friends. We were instructed whenever we did shows like that, you weren't allowed to look at the artist or bother the artist.
Wow.
None of that type of stuff, so we pretty much let Carlos do his thing all during the tour and everything. But at the very end of the show, the stage manager came up and pushed all us associates to one corner while Carlos Santana got to walk through the stage and off the stage and out of the show. He actually did a beeline. He came across the stage to our particular corner where me and my friend was standing. He came over face to face with me. He literally cradled my face within his hand. He looked at me. He didn't say one word. And he gave me the nicest, warmest smile on his face, let my face go, and then he did a beeline off the stage. And it was one of those moments. It's almost like he stuck a pin in my ass, and said, "What are you doing? Get your music out there." It was that moment. It was quite life-changing for me. And even though he didn't speak a word, I felt like we spoke 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And it was just a really inspirational moment. And from that point on, I started getting my songs together and recording.
Amazing. So at the age of 12, what kind of music were you into? What was you doing at that age? Had you just picked up a good guitar? Were your family musical? How did it all start for you?
It kind of started with an interest from seeing my mom's sister, who was really good with the piano. And she didn't read or anything, but she could play amazingly by ear.
Wow.
And that was really a joy for us kids to go see. We'd ask her to play something, and she'd hear it once and be able to almost mock it. And so that was quite a thing for me to see as a kid. It was very inspiring.
Yeah.
And I also had an uncle who was very much an entertainer, and he could sing like Al Jolson, and would entertain us around the dinner table. He'd play the spoons, and he would sing to us. And I really got a joy out of that, how happy he was entertaining it all. So that definitely left a mark on me as a young kid. But then when I was about 12 years old, my friend and I, we used to get in trouble all the time for singing harmonies in class together,
Okay.
And the teacher would call us out, "Mike and Tim, you guys be quiet over there, And we happened to go on a camping trip with the whole group of our students. And we were around the campfire, and my friend and I just started singing an Elton John song called Your Song. And we also sung a John Denver song called Annie's Song.
Okay.
And when all our student friends clapped for us after, and that was just a really great feeling inside.
Like your first gig.
It was just like our first gig.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed, being a class clown and all, and getting a little extra attention here and there. But that was really a special feeling. And it wasn't for a couple of years later until I started taking up guitar lessons.
Okay.
But the instrument I actually learned was drums in high school. We took drum lessons. We were listening to Ringo Starr and learning the drums to Beatles songs and stuff like that. The Beatles were a really huge influence on my brother and I.
Okay.
My older uncles, they gave me and my brother, when we were kids, Beach Boys albums and Beatles albums. And my brother and I dissected those things like nobody else and listened to every song over and over. And me and my brother were convinced that we could be Lennon and McCartney.
Sweet.
So there we be with our tennis rackets standing in the mirror with each other, faking our British accents. And he was Paul McCartney and I was John Lennon. And it kind of started with, an almost an infatuation sort of thing. And
that's amazing.
And then, in the late 60s, hearing Jimi Hendrix and all that, I was just, the electric guitar was really, I just had something for the electric guitar. It started with an infatuation and making little model electric guitars. And I remember actually doing a report at school. It was in middle school. And my report was on the electric guitar. And I had made this little electric guitar. And I brought it in. I had a wig. I had my big fly glasses.
Yeah.
And I asked my teacher to introduce me to the class because I was going to go in and do my book report in front of everybody. So here I was at the little guitar. I went out there. I played air guitar with my wig and my glasses. Everybody loved it. My teacher loved it so much she took me around to all the other classes to show me off to everyone.
Sweet.
Went to the front of the class and did my air guitar, and that was pretty much fantasy land for guitar and all, but it really stuck with me. And listening to Jimi Hendrix, that was really inspiring. I was always curious where he's getting these ideas from. It really struck my heart how he played the guitar, and those ideas were like from the heavens.
Wow.
And I had always aspired to do that, but it took a little bit initially because I played the drums. Then I started playing guitar. My parents got us our first guitars, and I didn't like it at first. I found it hard. My hands couldn't do what I wanted it to do. So I put the guitar down for a couple of minutes, a couple of years, and I ended up getting a Paul McCartney bass.
Okay.
I played the bass guitar for about a year and a half. So now I had the bass and the drums in my head. But I was still in that little drum booth, and I was watching my friend doing all this stuff on the electric guitar from the other booth. And I'm like, man, I still really want to do that, So another year goes by, and then my parents helped me get my real first guitar. And I was just so infatuated with that guitar. I couldn't help but open the case and just stare at it.
Super
It
cool.
helped me get up more and more and more. And eventually I found myself picking it up every day. And I spent about a year and a half being totally addicted to nothing else but playing that guitar. And I actually started to learn it and got a real knowledge for it. I was all self-taught. My brother and I self-taught ourselves how to write our own songs. And we learned 3 or 4 chords and learned, hey, we can start a song with just 3 chords. And so we started doing that right out of the gates. And I was already writing by 13, 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
I studied the Beatles lyrics book. I was reading, Neil Peart from Rush. I loved his lyrics. And I just started studying everyone's lyrics. I wanted to know, well, how many lyrics does it take for one song? And so I started dissecting the world of writing in that sense, from a songwriter's perspective. And I got the formula down in my head, and I pretty much started at 15 years old writing the first songs that I would end up playing on guitar a few years later.
Wow.
Before even playing the instruments, I had already written songs. And I still have my original song book.
Wow.
Dated 76, 77, 78. And I taped this thing together with masking tape, and it had all my songs. But that's essentially my first songs that I ever produced came from my original writings.
Wow, amazing, man. So
I've always had a habit of recording everything, too. I had a cassette player wherever I went. So I pretty much recorded my whole career. Every jam we did, every practice, every session, every live show, I taped pretty much everything.
How old was you when it came to your first live show?
The first live show we did, we were just young kids. And I remember it was in a little city of Nashua. And we were invited to do this party, a birthday party for all these different kids. And we showed up there right out of the gates. We were playing our own songs. We did a few cover songs that everyone knew, but we figured as long as you could do your cover song, as long as you could do your original songs as good as a cover song and really have it polished, people weren't going to know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we went on that formula and it worked for us.
Amazing.
And we even got open up for so many different big bands in the area. We did the New England circuit for a while, and we got to open for all these different big bands playing our own music. We'd go in there, do the opening set. We'd be out of there by 10:30 and enjoying the show.
Really?
But we got to use the big PAs. We didn't have to carry anything around but our amps. It was kind of a nice gig. It worked out great for about 6 or 8 years for us that way. And people started to really know our music. And what a great feeling that was. To us, we had made it, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And what happened from there? I mean, how did it continue to progress? I mean, how did the story continue?
Yeah, it continued to progress. It started out as a high school band. We were named Ambush. And after high school, of course, everyone went to college and went separate directions and all. So me and the drummer went our own direction, played in a couple other bands along the side and all, but mostly just continued to play our original stuff. My brother and the other guitar player went a different direction. They played in cover bands. They played on the road for a while. They were basically doing a lot of stuff that got them kind of sick of the business because they weren't doing their original music anymore.
Right.
I always the original formula, and I said, no, I am not going to waste all my time learning other people's songs. It wasn't for me. So I stayed on that formula. I just continued writing my own stuff. Well, a few years went by after everyone was separated. Then we got back together again, me and the original core members, my brother Al and my friend Dave. We got back together. We hired a keyboard player. And then we basically polished off the band. We called it the Brotherhood. And we went out, and that's when we had the 6 or 8 year run just doing our original music. And it was really built on something that we had started at 15 years old. So we had really gotten pretty good at being our own songwriters by that point.
Oh, amazing.
And we had our...
So it's literally just spend nearly all of your life living your dream. How amazing.
Yeah.
Kudos
and
to
my
you.
And I mean, we felt we'd made it at a young age because we were getting to do what we always loved to do.
Yeah.
And my brother Al is still doing that same thing today. He's working on 21 albums now, and I'm working on my 10th album now. But it was basically that original dream from 15 years old when Lennon and McCartney told us that we could be just like that if we wanted.
Amazing.
We embraced it and never looked back. And it just took until 2012 before I said, finally, I'm going to get my own name in this business now. I'm going to start producing my own name, my own songs.
Mm-hmm. And that was 2012.
That was 2012.
Well, okay.
So basically, I had all these cassettes for my whole career. I had no idea how many songs I had even written. So, I mean, putting out the first album was just so easy. I mean, I had so many songs already. And so I just hired one of my friends, and we went over to his studio. He did all the drum parts for me. I did all the other instruments. And I pretty much do all the instruments, all the producing, all the writing, all everything from point A to point B to releasing it, to publishing, to self-promotion. I've taken all that stuff on. I always kind of had this thing about giving away any of my rights. I always remembered that the Beatles, even as smart as they were, lost all the rights to their music.
Yeah, I remember.
And I knew that kind of stuff. And I couldn't imagine paying somebody else to play my own songs.
Yeah. What's that about? I know.
Exactly. So I always kind of kept things close to the vest. And I actually, after high school, I went to 24-track recording school.
Okay.
So that was really the missing ingredient. I always wanted to make our music sound better.
Mm-hmm.
How can we sound more professional? So I took that on head on, and I went to 24-track recording at one of the more prominent studios outside of Boston, Massachusetts. It was called Blue Jay Recording Studio. And it was a magnificent place. And I get chills talking about it just because to me, it was like heaven on earth. It's like, oh my God, here's a studio here. You could live in it. It's got a living room. there's a bedroom. It's got the kitchen. You never have to leave. Oh, I was in heaven. There's this grand piano inside the sound.
That sounds amazing.
The mixing board was gigantic, and I'm like, oh my Lord. Yeah, and it was quite overwhelming at first. And learning how to really do what goes on behind the scenes in a recording studio is lessons you never forget.
No.
I mean, those are the fundamentals as to how to make your music sound really good and really pay attention to the details. You know, I remember our first session, we're doing mixing drums at the studio, and he's got 3 days blocked off to mix drums.
Wow.
I was kind of overwhelmed by that. 3 days to mix drums. What the hell are we going to do? You know? So as we start progressing with the session and we're setting up all these specific mics and specific areas, we're tuning the drum set and we're listening and for any overlap in certain sounds. And we're basically training our ears to hear things they could never hear before, you know? And this engineer that we had was fantastic. And he was teaching us how to really, really hear these things to a different level than anyone else hearing it. And so taking this drum set and putting 11 microphones around it and specific ones for specific purposes. And this one's for the kick drum and this one's for the snare. And these ones are for cymbals, picking up high end and stuff. And the specifics of it in general is like,
it was technical. I mean, I was reel to reel boy as well when I started, and then it went into that. But even then, it was. I mean, now you can literally record something and put it out on your phone. I mean, it is literally that.
Yeah,
because I still can't do it, but it's a complete different industry. I mean, being in the industry when you started the industry, you learn the grit of how that industry is formed, and you were amazingly technical enough to be able to pick it up. I was there just looking at loads of pretty lights and faders and thinking, I have no fucking idea what's going on.
Oh, exactly. Wow, my God, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is this what goes on behind the scenes? But I'll tell you what, as that class progressed, oh my God, I got lifelong knowledge and I became obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Where I took two of my close friends under my belt and I said, I want you guys to be in charge of this soundboard when I am on that stage. And I taught them everything that I was learning at this 24-track studio. Mm-hmm. And so I gave them the fundamentals. And these friends of mine turned it into careers of their own.
Wow, super cool, man.
Even today, my friend is a magnificent producer and he's worked for so many people. And it's just great. I remember back in the day putting him at this board and putting them in charge of it. And it just, now I could go on stage and relax because I took it really seriously.
Of course.
I wanted to know my music was sounding good out front. Mm. So initially I played with a wireless system so I could go out there and make sure it was sounding the way I wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
And by putting my friends in charge of the board, we never played a live show without them after that.
Wow, man.
Important it was to have an engineer by your side that understood songs, knew when the solos were coming in, and did all this other stuff to make you guys sound a little more professional out there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come across as an amateur ever. And so I always sought to how to become more professional. And so the people that were the most important to me throughout music was always the people behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I was reading the back of the record album. What's going on here? Who really played in the session?
Yeah.
Who are the studio engineers? Where did they mix the album? Who did the producing? Mm-hmm. And I was always amazed by how many common names I was seeing on so many hit albums. Yeah. And then I started, these are the people that make everyone else sound good behind the scenes. They became my heroes. You know, the session guys like Steve Lukather and Larry Carlton. These were the greatest session players ever.
Yeah.
And so I was very careful notes, meticulous notes from people like them. Every concert that I would go to see, I would make for certain I was in the front row. And then I would end up at the mixer board, watching over the sound engineer and listening to his mix and just it just always brought me back to that point, refining my skills and keeping my listening ears on target. Even today, when I go to sit down in the studio with my friend Pete and he's doing a session, it just always continues to bring me back to those fundamentals, which is utterly important to anything.
I guess as well, the fundamentals are the fundamentals. I mean, that's the foundation of your knowledge. However, the music industry is evolving and changing as well. So I guess you're always in that state of being the student, right? Because there's always new sounds, new flavors, new ways of working. So you never stop. You're always having to.
And I got out of the analog for a while, and then I was a little intimidated when the whole digital world came in, and now you got this studio on your laptop. Mm-hmm. Who did I call in? My friend Pete, who turned it into a business. I called him and I said, I want you to teach me and my son digital recording. I need to get my chops back up. I know the fundamentals. I have all those skills still inside me. Now I need to know how to use the digital tools. And he basically brought me and my son into the studio, and we got to go in there every day, every afternoon, and learn all the new tools and digital electronics.
I need to set up
a computer system for me. We've been running on Pro Tools, and we got 400 different plugins. We can produce and everything right on our laptop now, and it's maddening.
I've got Logic Pro here. I open it, I look at it, I close it. I haven't got an idea how to even do a driver. I've got a friend coming over in a couple of weeks who's going to be like, okay, Jaden, this is how to do a dry vocal. But I'm just like, raw man, like, what's that number with little letters at the end? And you've got and I've just put on a reverb. I have no idea why I'm singing through it like in a tin can now. Right, I have no ideas. I need your friend here.
It's
or
quite.
You guys come over for holiday and teach me. Got a place you can stay.
He did teach for 10 years down in Boston, so he'd call us into all those midnight sessions. He's like, we got open time at 3 a.m. Can you guys get the band here? Yes, I'll get the band there. And we get down to Boston just to have the experience of recording at the big studios and stuff.
I remember those days when, like some big group had booked like I don't know, 12 hours, but they'd finished after 8. So the record company was like, Jaden, you've got literally half an hour to get to recording studio. You've got 3 hours to put a track down. So it's just like get in there as fast as we can. And I think I'm pretty sure that was Abbey Road. I've done one recording at Abbey Road. But you walked into the studios in London, some of them, and it was like being on the flight deck of the Starship Enterprise. Like it was like all these TV screens and big like semicircular studios with the sound room. It wasn't even a sound. You had like a voice booth, but the room with the grand piano and everything, where like the groups of the day like take that and everything were recording, and you were like, this is another world, man. But you know what? Funnily enough, some of my best recordings were also from producers who had a setup in their back bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
I've gotten it down to that system now, where I've gotten such an ear for it that I even did a recording right in my neighborhood on this hill by my house in the outdoors. I used only my camera here, and I set it up on a tripod, but the recording came out stellar.
Wow.
And then the nature sounds around it were ripe, and in the record.
Oh, perfect.
I ended up putting that recording out on my Twitter page, and it got 70,000 views.
Amazing, man.
To be the best 2 minutes and 8-second video promotion for my music that I've ever put out. But it also goes to show that, you really do have skills. I think anyone that can just step up to the mic and sing and hold down the fort, there's something to be said about that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not even fronting is not an easy thing to do. Everyone's like, you're just singing. No, you're not actually. You're using your voice, but you're trying to hold, you're trying to capture, you're trying to entertain, you're trying to be personal without being dramatic, you're trying to be entertaining without being isolated in your. It's like raw. And I could go to bed after. I sing in quite a lovely place in Cancun on a Sunday, and I could go to bed afterwards. After 2 hours of singing, I'm exhausted.
Absolutely.
It's exhausting.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
And you use memory, you're remembering intricate parts. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
no, I think
A lot to perform.
what do you think has been the highlight of your career so far?
Some of the highlights of my career so far, probably, I mean, releasing the first album was quite a milestone, and helping my son to release his first album was a huge milestone.
He's Dr. Soucy as well, right?
Yes, my youngest son goes by Dr. Seuss, S-O-U-C.
Dr. Seuss, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I sent both my boys to piano lessons when they were growing up. I so wanted them to pick up right where I left off, you know. Of course, I think we all want that for our children and stuff. But my oldest son, I mean, he can play the drums, he can play the guitar, he can fake it pretty good, but he never really grabbed onto it to do it as a passion and stuff like that. My younger son, he kind of got a little more closer to the passion thing and writing his own stuff. He's turned out to be a fantastic writer. I think he's got an edge on me by far. But yeah, some of these rap songs got 5 pages of lyrics to one song, compared to my song, which has 3 paragraphs. I mean, it's quite a difference there in songwriting skills, just that alone. But between him, we kind of cover all the genres of music, and that's been quite a milestone. Playing with my son, me and him,
incredible.
The same song together is such a joy.
Yeah,
totally different style to me. He's doing this trap rap stuff, and I'm doing some old school lead guitar to it, but it works. Sounds good. We've almost created a new different style from it.
Amazing, man. We're gonna have to get him on the show as well then. I think it'd be good to chat to him about.
Smile on his face. That is a joy in itself, and I'm really hoping that my grandchildren are going to pick up where we've left, because I've been working with them quite a bit too. They mess around on the drums. I got all the equipment set up at the house, so when the grandchildren come over, the first thing they go to the drum set, of course.
Yeah.
And cello now, so they've been playing the cello. They play the keyboard. I got it all set up and ready to go. So I want that to be an inspiration for them. I want them to play. I want them to learn how to songwrite and stuff.
Well, I think and touching that creativity within yourself is so important on so many different levels. I think being able to be creative and being able to express through that medium, music is a therapy in itself, whether you're aware of it or not.
Yes. Yeah,
that's incredible.
What point I've found my voice after about a decade singing. I didn't really find my voice as a youngster.
No, I know that. I know how that feels.
I have found my voice. I've learned how to reach down inside myself and grab the passion that I'm looking for to express what it is I'm trying to express.
Yeah.
So I've been able to a whole different level now than I ever was before.
No, I've been singing for 32 years, and I think it's probably only in the last 10 that I'm owning my voice down. It's exactly the same, like my management or record label saying, yeah, your voice is nice, but I'm not believing anything you're singing. You need to feel the emotion behind it. And I really was feeling the emotion behind it, really was feeling the emotion behind it. But I've always been very, quite shy and timid. So, I wasn't going to cry into a song and stuff like that. And then I just started listening to different artists, it wasn't even something that I said, I'm going to learn how to be emotional within my music. But I started listening to the techniques that some artists use, even crazily enough, someone like Rihanna as well. Mm-hmm. And I was listening, I was like, oh my God, all that is a growl. So if I can put that growl there or break my voice there, it sounds like I'm crying in it. And now I sing every genre. I mean, I'm a classical crossover singer was probably my bag. Even though now I'm doing pop and disco and, that kind of stuff, because it's fun music and I love doing it. But now when I do my show, I'll do everything from Celine Dion to Pavarotti, from the Eagles to Oasis, from the Beatles to Prince. And I love the fact that now I know how to play my voice, but it took me 20-something years to discover that actually, sometimes feeling it wasn't enough. Your voice has to express that.
Yeah, but you've never given up on it, and I think
No,
that's really,
I don't
you know,
think you can, mate, really. As much, and I've wanted to many times, actually, because it's not the easiest and the most rewarding industry to be in. It's, you do end up becoming semi-schizophrenic because, you're like, they love me, but no one comes. I felt like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. It's like, they love me. No, stupid, Jaden, stupid. No one's here. Look. It was like that.
coming. That's funny.
It was crazy. Like, oh, we're going to do another album. Well, I've done 3. You never bought any, and I'm still paying off the first. So I'm not doing it anymore now. I'm going to just release singles. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. So highlight your first, obviously recording with your son and your first album. What are you doing at the moment? What's going on for you right now?
At the moment, I am working on my 10th album. My son and I just, he actually redid one of my songs from my last album, which was called Third Universe. It was all an instrumental album. He took one of those songs and he did a rap part, and we kind of mixed and mashed it and made it into another song.
Great.
And we released that one together, which was great. And the song I released after that was called Give Love Another Chance.
Yeah.
And that so far has been my best single to date.
We're going to listen to that at the end of the show, actually. I'm very excited to be sharing that with all.
Off nicely, and it's probably approaching 50,000 Spotify streams now in about 5 months. So
that'd be wonderful.
That one has done super well for us, and that has kind of crossed over. I've never really done that type of love song before.
Okay.
So that was the first time tackling something as such like that with the piano going and stuff like that. But I decided to keep the piano going for the next song too, and this one that I'm releasing on the 28th is called The Seasons.
Okay.
And that song came about from a piano part, and I arranged the whole song around the piano part. And what happened was I ended up with 4 verses in the song. So I tried a number of my different writings. I have thousands of different writings. I go and grab a couple notebooks and put all these pieces of paper all over the place and just experiment singing this one and that one to the song to see if it might fit in.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any of my regular stuff that fit in. So I said, I'm going to do a rewrite on this, and I'm going to, because of the 4 verses, I'm just going to do the 4 seasons.
Sweet.
And think about memories that I have about the 4 seasons that stuck in my head over the years. So I just did a dummy sheet and did a bunch of notes on all my memories about the seasons. And then I picked and chose from that, made my 4 verses, and then kind of took off in between that and wrote for the song in between that. And it actually came out pretty good.
Nice, man. That sounds amazing.
A lot of producing going on in it. I try to make my wall of sound production. I use a lot of different old synthesizer sounds. I use cellos together and strings a lot. I kind of know how to make this wall of sound. It's called. I learned
nice and warm as well. Like
the wall, kind of making that big production sound in the background, and it's gradual and it picks up as the song progresses.
Yeah.
So at the end of the song, it's a peaking production sound.
Great.
And I like doing things like that. It's a little more challenging, especially when you're doing it out of the box. I think, which is doing it on the laptop essentially. I think the most tracks I've done so far out of the box was about 35, and that's quite a feat to be on 35 tracks on a laptop and doing all your mixing and mastering and everything right out of the box.
I think you're bloody amazing.
Quite a challenge. But also, it's a passion. It still drives me. It still drives me to get that production, to want it to sound to perfection.
No, see, I would love to, but it scares the life out of me. I open it up and I look at it and I'm like, raw.
It did initially for me.
Really?
I've become more confident now that my friend hopped in there and got us all up to speed and everything. That so helped my confidence.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, man. Do you have a genre of preference to write and to sing and to listen to, actually? So writing, singing and listening to, do you have genres of preference?
I actually don't.
So anything that floats your boat in that moment?
I have. I used to be more, pigeonholed and towards certain styles. I grew up on rock and roll with, Yes, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Black Sabbath, and Rush, and all these other different bands of the '70s, which had phenomenal musicians and phenomenal music came out of the '70s, and that kind of started to change my perspective of music in a big way. And then,
and do you still go back to listen to them now?
Yes, I listen to everything from Mozart. I love Mozart. Absolutely. I think a guy like Mozart was like all the Beatles in one person.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, I'm still amazed by listening to pieces of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also amazed by some of today's productions where they're mixing and matching some of the old sounds and the new sounds, and creating a whole different genre of music. That's kind of exciting for me as well. And I think my son has kind of helped me realize that there's no end and there's no limit to what you should be able to hear and be influenced by.
Absolutely.
And I've taken that to heart, and I realize music can be in so many different forms. And it could start with a drum, it could start with a bongo, it could start with spoons, it could start with banging on the wall.
Yeah.
It could start something in your voice, in your head. And I'm hearing these things all the time now. I just can't get it out of my head until I go into the recorder and I got the melody, and then I'm sitting down with my folk figuring out the chords to the melody I just hummed. And bam, a new song is off and running. So, I mean, it starts like that. Even though many of my songs start with a folk guitar, they certainly don't end that way.
Wow.
No.
So what does the future hold for you? What's going to go on with the future? What are your plans?
I've started playing out again, just doing my original stuff. My issue in the past was I never really had a catalog to be able to go out and do my own solo career stuff, Now I have a catalog, and that is just, oh my God, it's like a huge load off my shoulders now. I have all these songs that I practice on a regular basis now, and I can take that 45-minute, hour and a half set out, play it anywhere I want. Right. That's kind of a great freedom, I'll tell you that. And it's nice to know that I can still do that.
Yeah.
60 years old now. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm living my dreams in reverse, kind of. I thought at the age of 17 that I was going to go off to LA and be a session musician. Okay. That was my decision. I said, I love music. I'm diving in head first. That's what I'm going to do. And then I happened to find a girl that I was in love with and had a child by 20 and single parent dad by 21. So I raised my first son myself. 11 years later, I met another girl, had another son, got divorced from that girl, raised that son. So I spent 37 years raising my boys,
wow.
Making them number one, holding down the fort. And now that they're all up and grown and out on their own, and I have grandchildren, now I'm getting the second part of my dream. And it was my youngest son that inspired me and said, Dad, do what you love doing. Grip onto it, dive into it head first. And it hit my heart, and I never looked back. Yeah. And I've been able to grab onto that, and it's changed my life in positive ways. And I've gotten to do a lot of different podcasts. I've gotten my music sponsored and played by so many different folks out there. And it's just been a joy. I love doing podcasts and meeting new people out there. And it's just a real joy for me. And
I think one of the most important things, and I've just got to 50, and I was kind of thinking like, why, especially because I was starting in the 80s, well, the 90s really. And it was like, by the time you get to 25, you're too old to do this business now. Then you can't be a face. And I was someone that I knew had written a song in England. He wanted me to vocal it. I vocaled it. Was better than what I thought it was going to be. Like, really enjoyed it, really loved the vibe. And then I thought, I'll shoot a little video. I will try and do it. And I'm so not technical on any level. Like, really, I'm not. So I put this little video together, and I was back to when I was 23 years old in my pop band. And it was, apart from the fact that when I looked back at the video, I was like, what the fuck is my dad doing in that video? It's just, I keep forgetting that I'm now 50, but I just thought, bloody amazing, Jaden, that at the age of 50, you can release a bloody good pop track, do a video, and still be doing the things that you enjoy. That's just, we couldn't have done it if, you know, the audience being the audience, the industry being the industry back in the 80s or 90s. Because we couldn't, but with the power of the internet and like yourself, you learn all these parts. You can still get your passion, your joy, your love for creativity out to the masses. And you've really inspired me. Actually, I'm super chuffed to have met you. And yeah, that's been really cool. I love your passion for your music, man. That's just it's.
My mom always told me, never sell out on your dreams.
No, absolutely.
I've always taken that to heart. And I don't believe that you're ever too old to achieve anything in this life.
Absolutely.
And for different reasons and all. And I think if you embrace your true self and your reasons and hold on to that, there's no one that can ever take it away from you.
No,
you know?
And the thing is how we define success. I remember getting scouted to do one of the talent shows in England, which I never want to do because I don't believe I don't really believe in being judged for your talent, whether you're great or whether you're mediocre, whether you're shit. I don't think anyone has a right to tell you because you're being you and you're being your authentic self. So what I like, I'm probably not going to like ska or punk, but I'm going to like Celine Dion or Whitney. So, but the guy next to me prefers punk, so he's not going to like Whitney or Celine. So one person's pleasure is another one's, you know, like disgust, I guess. But I went.
That is impartial, you know,
Completely.
and that's why you could have your niche and still have millions of fans.
Absolutely.
You know? Even though they may see it as that way. And with critics, I mean, we've all heard stories of, you know, great musicians turning out to be great musicians, but their first shows or whatever, the critics really hashed them apart.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never really took all that stuff to heart too much because they're judging it on a blip of you anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's interesting. They said, you're never going to make it. And I was like, well, I might never have like, you know, a 27-roomed Malibu house with a swimming pool. That's probably not going to happen because I want to travel and do things. And I've got, you know, like 27 rescue animals. So my money's going to be taken building them places. But I was like, but I think I am successful because I'm still traveling the world at my age, doing what I love to do.
Absolutely. I consider success.
That's the success, right? It's about, someone said to me, a very good friend of mine said that the journey is the destination.
Yeah.
You know, so we're always looking at what can we achieve, but actually we miss so much of the wonderfulness that happens along the way to this dream goal at the end of it. But then I don't have any goals anymore. I just do, you know, like I was a classical crossover singer, you know, and then someone says, do you want to do a reggaeton song? Yeah, get on, I'll do it. I don't. So released a, you know, Spanish English reggaeton track with an amazing artist from Mexico, and then, like I said, I've just done a pop. And why not? Because I love it and I can. You know?
Exactly.
So I think it's great.
My son got me to do a rap song, and I'm not a rapper. My son got me to do a rap song.
Great.
I let my guard down and just let it fly. Let's go. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's try. You know, but I don't discount any type of music whatsoever. I think there's something in music for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I've always done multi-genre styles, you know, and I've set my albums up as such. I'll have an instrumental. I'll have a blues. I'll have a jazz. I'll have, you know, a singer-songwriter one and what experimental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always loved doing experimental stuff. And what it sounds like and how it comes out, I don't even know how to define the styles sometimes.
It's all going to be you.
That's right.
That's the thing.
That's
I can sing Dorma and use my more classical voice, or I can sing, I don't know, like Oasis and use my more pop voice. But I'm always Jaden, no matter what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, no,
I think you're
noticed you're picked up a lot in the last decade because you still have the passion for what it is you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I don't think you can escape it, even if you wanted to. It's like bloody hunts you down, I think.
Becomes an addiction after all.
It really does. Well, I just think it's part of you, you know, like I think lots of people want to do it because they want to be successful at something, and they think it's quite an easy way to go, which is one of the hardest industries, I think, on the planet, where it was back in the day, you know, especially in the 90s. But I think it's like, you know, it just, I've given up so many times, and then within a couple of years, the depression has been so great because I haven't been in the studio. I've not been doing what fires me, what edifies me. Like, it would not be my career of choice. Absolutely not, because it's bloody hard work. And you're putting yourself, especially, and you probably know this with your songwriting, some of your songwriting is from a real vulnerable personal place. You know, and when you put that out there, that's quite a big thing to do anyway. And someone goes, that last song was shit. And you're like, wow, that's like an experience that's so deep for me.
Yeah.
You know,
it's really, and you know, each one of these interviews that I do, you know, I get to kind of look back, which I've never really done before. Where did I come from? You know, where did this all start? What are the building blocks that I put in place to make all this the way I think today?
Yeah.
And there was, you know, very regimented the way it happened in my life, and all those pieces ended up being in place for a reason.
Yeah.
And like you said, the passion, it's never going to leave me now. And I almost feel to the point where if I don't write that song down, if I don't record that song down, I'll self-destruct inside.
Yeah.
I need to get it out. And because it is part of my therapy as well. As a human being, not only as an artist, but as a human being. It's become my form of expression.
Absolutely, man. Well, I wish you untold luck and success in your future path. And I'm very excited. So have we got more out? So you're working on your 10th album now. How do you see things in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years? I don't know. I think some miracles are going to happen for me. I just feel, I don't know. I'm feeling something different within me and within my spirit of me lately. That's just going to propel me to a different stratosphere. And I really feel that that's going to take Notion right on the stage.
Great, man. Oh, I can't wait. Well, when these miracles start happening, look a brother up and let's get you back on the show, because I want to hear all about them.
So, that sounds a great idea.
I really do thank you for your time today. You've been very encouraging to listen to your story. Like I said, your passion for your art is completely infectious. And so thank you so much for your time. And I'm so sorry I'm late.
I appreciate you so much. Really.
Well, we will keep in touch. Come back and join us again. Just to let you kids at home know that he is everywhere. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Your music's available where? Spotify, all the major download and streaming platforms, right?
Yes, indeed. I'm probably the only Tim Soucy on any of these platforms.
Sweet. All right. What about things like Bandcamp and SoundCloud? Are you there?
I'm not on Bandcamp. I got a few things on SoundCloud.
Okay. Sweet. So they can just Google you and you're everywhere pretty much.
Apple Music, Amazon, whatever it might be. Tidal, Pandora, iHeart.
These are the...
It's great being on every platform because there's something...
Absolutely. Kids at home, make sure you go and look for Tim the minute this show is finished. Go and follow him on his social media platforms. Go and download his music. Tim, thank you so much for your time and for your energy and for your passion. I greatly appreciate it, your time spent with me today. Wish you all the luck, and we will be in touch. Maybe we'll even do a collaboration in the future.
That sounds like a plan. That would be awesome.
All right, mate. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up again soon.
Okay, Jaden. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.
Take care. What a lovely, lovely gent. How cool was he? I hope you will go and support him on his social media platforms. I hope you will go and check out more of his music on his music streaming and download platforms as well. Go and show that man some love and support. Thank you so much, Tim, for being on my show. Thank you, beautiful people at home. I could just reach out and give you big squeezes. Thank you so much for watching my show. I hope you've had a lovely The Jaden Show. I know I've had a spectacular one. I'm so excited already for next Sunday when there is another one with another wonderful person. Geez, how good is life? Eh? That's amazing. Thank you so much. Come and follow me on my social media platforms as well. Come and say hello. Come and let me know what you're up to. Come and check out the world of Jaden Cornelius and all that happens within that world, of which it can be quite random at times. So I'm looking forward to having your likes, your comments, your shares and your subscriptions and your follows and all that is within the realm of social media. Thank you so much. Take good care of yourselves. I'm not leaving you with that another song. Oh, hell no. I'm leaving you with another song by Tim Soucy. This is called Give Love Another Chance. This is Tim Soucy. I wish you a wonderful new week. Stay safe, stay happy, stay productive, proactive, and most of all, stay beautiful. See you next Sunday on The Jaden Show. Goodbye.
How it was meant to be for no one but for you and me. You've gotten rid of my emptiness. You've rid me of my anger. You make me feel brand new, optimistically thinking about a better tomorrow. Your smile, your voice ringing inside my head, your compassionate thoughts all over me. We're thinking so clearly now. You're the sun in my eyes that keeps us both up at night, and in the morning we're still hoping for that breakfast together. Thinking freely about a better tomorrow, that's what it's all about. I'm in your arms, you've cured all my sorrow and my pain. There's no easy way except to follow your heart. Oh, follow your heart again. Give love another chance. Dream of our whole lives together, yet still sleep alone at night. You're in my dreams, dear Clara. You've got what's left of my heart. Do my best to fill yours up again with unconditional love and warmth and honesty. How challenging this life can be, and that distance between us doesn't matter none. We have to move the goalpost. Our love won't be till we're together as one. A new day, a new way forward, my dear. Never leave me this way. No doubt about, secure our minds and souls feel together as one. I wanna be in that house of compromise with you. I want you to show me a love like I never knew. Our time has come, the future looks so bright, and you're now in my sight. Here now, with you so. It's how it was meant to be for